Hey ladies, this is Mocha Mommy here bringing you another video. And in this video, I'd like to talk about masculine energy and masculine archetypes. I know that my first video of the new year, I had discussed about the 7 feminine archetypes and had left links for you ladies to take a test to find out your feminine archetypes. And as we start to explore those topics, we see how complex they are and how how you can't really put it in a box. So, ladies, it's the same with masculine energy. And this is really a follow-up to the conversations that are being had in this space by content creators like #BlackWoman, Uppity Unicorn, and Samantha Cooker, who are all kind of talking about masculinity and masculine archetypes. So I'll leave links to those content creators in the description box below. But right now, let's get into the 4 masculine archetypes, and I'll give you ladies a couple of examples. The first masculine archetype that I would like to explore would be that of the king. The king is almost sort of self-explanatory. He is the ruler. He has the authority. He definitely has a lot of power. He has a lot of achievement. But king energy a lot of times comes with age, right? Very rarely do you see young kings. King energy definitely has a lot of wisdom, has a lot of experience, has a lot of foresight, and the ability to see the big picture and the larger scheme of things. Kings very rarely are involved in petty squabbles and into micromanagement, but very much can delegate in a very, very wise way, and also don't always have to use force. And kings are very skilled in diplomacy. Now, if the king energy heads over to the dark side, you'll see like a lot of controlling and autocratic type of rulership. You see a lot of when you see the immaturity or the dark side of the king masculine archetype. But some of the more notable kings in, I guess, our current culture would probably be men like Magic Johnson, Jeff Bezos, Jordan Peterson, Denzel Washington. Men of that sage wisdom and experience who can look at the larger world and pretty much can offer mentorship, guidance. They're catalysts of change. They're great delegators, and they have opportunities, and they create other opportunities for other men around them. So king energy is definitely one type of masculine energy that, in my opinion, I feel it comes with age. So again, this is just one masculine archetype that I think is almost self-explanatory. Now, sometimes when we think king energy, we think, well, the king automatically is going to be attracted to the feminine archetype of queen. Yes and no. You know, some kings are very much attracted to sage energy, because how many times do you see kings go to advisors and oracles and tap into getting someone who can give them further insights into how best to run their kingdom? Kings are not intimidated by wisdom. Kings are not intimidated by others, the authority of others. Kings are not intimidated by things that they don't know. So kings can very often be attracted to mystics. How many times do kings look for a woman's blessing or just to grab a hold or to be reminded of things that can't be explained, things that are more intuitive, things that are in tune with nature, things that are in tune with spirituality that a mystic can bring out. Also, kings can be very much attracted to lovers and lovers and huntresses. Someone who, while they're very objective and and a bit aloof and can be a bit standoffish, someone who is very passionate and very fiery can also be very attractive to a king. So again, just because these masculine and feminine archetypes, they can give us a broad picture, but they don't explain everything. Really, the only thing that we can say in absolute is that it has to be garnered by your own personal experience. The second masculine archetype is that of the warrior. The warrior is definitely a man who is ambitious, accomplished, a man who definitely is not afraid or frightened, a man who is not afraid of conflict, confrontation, but who is willing to overcome it. Warriors tend to have very strong work ethics. Warriors tend to have very strong mindsets. Warriors tend to be very self-disciplined. But when warriors are in their dark masculine, or when warriors are really don't come into their fullness, this is where you see like a lot of like violence and anger and uncontrolled rage, right? When a man has a very immature sense of his warrior energy. So again, warrior, not necessarily a bad thing, but when a man is not operating in the fullness of his warrior energy, that's where you really see a lot of the chaos and the violence. So primary examples of warriors would be definitely Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, Arthur Jocko Willink, and definitely Michael Jordan. And I say Michael Jordan as warrior and Magic Johnson as king. For those of you who maybe watched sports in the 80s and 90s, there was always a debate. Who was better, Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan, definitely warrior energy, one of the highest point scorers, definitely slam dunk, definitely a lot of warrior energy, spent a lot of minutes of playtime on the court, where Magic Johnson not only was a great scorer, but he also led the league in assists. So he was comfortable in himself in being a scorer and putting points up, but definitely not afraid to be generous with the ball and be generous with the shine. And this is why he more fits the king archetype more than Michael Jordan would. Okay. Very not into having his face everywhere and his likeness on a sneaker, but we would be willing to lend his name to larger business ventures. So again, king versus warrior. Neither one of these archetypes are bad. Neither one of these energies are bad. And a lot of times warriors do transition as they age into kings. So those are just examples of what a warrior archetype would be. Now, we again see, you would think warriors, well, automatically they would be attracted to huntress energy. You know, birds of a feather flock together. Very true. But how many times do warriors go into battle and ask a mystic to bless their sword? Right? How many times do warriors go into battle in defense of a queen? How many warriors go into battle to defend the honor of a maiden? Right? And how many warriors go off to battle to like defend not just their name and the name of their family, because they have an incredible mother energy and they're worried about their next legacy. So again, there's really no absolutes when it comes to, well, my feminine energy is this, therefore the corresponding masculine energy is that. So again, these are really things that depend on that man and that woman. The third type of energy, masculine archetype I'd like to discuss is that of the magician. Now, the magician tends to be the man who is creative, intuitive, who definitely has a sense of spirituality and a higher sense of self. Typical magician energies, I would probably say definitely Keanu Reeves, Deepak Chopra, Lakeith Stanfield, Tony Robbins, Russell Brand. Definitely a lot of magician energy. They definitely are men who have a higher sense of self, a higher sense of being. They're more creative and more intuitive. But the darker side of magician energy is that they are very deceptive. They can be very deceptive. You know, mentioned about like Russell Brand. You know, he had struggled with drug addiction for a long time that he kept secret. Or someone like Hiram Bikram, I think his name is Bikram, the study of Bikram yoga. He had very much a dark side where he was like sexually harassing a lot of people in their pursuit of a higher cause. He tended to have some tend to not be the most upstanding individual, because magicians can have a level of deceptive energy. So again, you would think magician, automatically they would be with the feminine archetype of the mystic. But a lot of magicians have an incredible legacy that they want to bring forward. So they could be very much attracted to a woman who's in her mother energy. They could be very much attracted to the innocence of a maiden and the energy of a maiden, because sometimes they have such a higher calling. Someone who's has a level of lightness and levity to them can be very attractive. To women who have lover energy, because they're very much into their own intuitive, spiritual, sensual self. They could also be attracted to a lover. So again, all of these things, there are no absolutes, but make sure that you're aware of your feminine energy and how it evolves and changes in relation to a man's masculine energy. Sometimes people don't see a magician as typically masculine, like they would a warrior or a king. But if they're solid in who it is they are as a man, and they're solid in who it is they are as that magician archetype, that is very masculine, right? There is no doubt that Russell Brand is very sexy. There's no doubt that men who have that magician energy could be very attractive to women, even if they look a little, I guess if you want to say, effeminate. Right? There's no doubt in my mind. Sting, that's another person with a lot of magician energy. Reading his autobiography was a great insight. His level of creativity, but understand that there was definitely a method to it. And no one would ever think that Sting is an unattractive man. No one would ever think that that's an effeminate or unattractive man. He definitely was secure in who it is he was as a magician and as a creator, which can be a very attractive quality in a man. So again, to not diminish any of these masculine archetypes just because they don't fit sometimes certain societies or certain cultural ideals. And very secure in his relationship building skills. He definitely is secure in who he is, to the point where he is in touch with his emotions and he can express those emotions. Now, a lot of people think lover energy is very effeminate, but believe it or not, a lot of lover energy men who operate in this are very good providers. Make no mistake about it. It's not just kings and warriors, but men who are very self-sacrificial and have a strong love for their families tend to be very good providers. So don't assume that this is not a masculine energy. So also, lover energy are men who tend to be very outwardly focused and think about the needs of others. To me, the very personification of lover energy in a man here on YouTube, I definitely would say would be the Belief in Fatherhood platform. Definitely a stay-at-home dad who created this business that revolves around his children and his family and around Black marriage. To me, I just really feel like he is the personification of lover energy. Also, I would say Will Smith, personification of lover energy. Also, Joel Osteen, the pastor. I would definitely say that a lot of men of faith have strong lover energy. Their love of God, their love of family, and their love of just mankind gives men a strong sense of lover energy. A lot of that is culturally imposed, also just who they are as a person. So understand that lover energy is not effeminate either. So we really have to think about it. If a man is secure in who he is, rarely is that anything effeminate about that, right? He's secure in his own archetype, in his lover energy. I don't think I can do justice to this video without talking about men who have transitional and also the combination of their masculine energies and archetypes, okay? So to me, I definitely think that the man who has the most well-rounded masculinity, in my opinion, would be Hugh Jackman. Okay, I love how Hugh Jackman can go from being the warrior action hero, incredibly intense, disciplined with his physical fitness and his career, but then have that king energy to be able to direct and to produce and to really write his own ticket in Hollywood, even though he's not from this country. He can go from being the sexiest man alive, really playing up that his sex appeal and his lover energy, but then at the same time be a family man. He literally is the magician, how he can go from being Wolverine on the big screen and then playing a openly gay man on Broadway. He can go from dancing in The Greatest Showman to singing in Les Mis, all while still having an incredibly masculine presence. So to me, I think that he is definitely the ideal, well-rounded masculine. And I really honestly think that that comes because he's in his 50s. It comes with maturity. And that's why I definitely think that ideally, Hugh Jackman is, I think, very well-rounded in his masculine presence. Now, there are some men who have two definite dominant archetypes in their masculine energy. And those men, I would definitely personify them as, I would definitely say Prince and Lenny Kravitz. Very equal in their magician and their lover energies. You really can't say one is dominant over the other. Both incredibly creative, both very secure in who they are, both not really afraid to walk the lines of gender norms, but still extremely secure in who they are, to the point where women are very attracted to that energy. I know that reading The Beautiful Ones by Prince was such a gorgeous book. Just seeing his creative process and seeing things in his own handwriting just goes to show you how he really was very in touch with his spiritual side and his emotional side when it came to relationships with others, and also having a bit of a player in him. I remember there was watching a Prince documentary, and one man had just said that Prince is the only man who could wear ruffles and high heel shoes, but you had to watch your woman around him because he could literally take your girl. And I just think that that was so indicative of just, even though he was short and he was light skinned and he was very effeminate, he was very secure in who he was as a man. Lenny Kravitz, the same thing. Definitely outside of the traditional Judeo conservative background that he grew up in, but still secure enough in his talent and in his masculine energy to be able to do what he wants and writes his own path. But it's very strong and firm in his lover energy to be able to convey emotion, especially it ain't over till it's over. You can definitely hear the emotion in that. And then who he was as a father, being a very hands-on dad. So again, I just think that these are men who have balanced and come to terms with their own masculine archetype and their masculine energy and can stand firm in it. And that really, I think, is a defining character of masculinity. Two great examples of men transitioning their energy as they age. Definitely, I would say Steph Curry and LeBron James. Two men who have very strong warrior energy. Always great offensive players, great team members, strong work ethics. But now you start to see them step back and kind of developing other young players underneath them, developing more of a team mindset as they advance in age and advance through the game, because understanding that that team dynamic and being able to look at the big picture is what creates champions. You also see that energy with their families and their surrounding communities, wanting to start businesses, creating more of a family brand, branching out to things that are not just basketball. So supporting their communities and their spouses and their families as they have greater visions for themselves and greater business ventures. So seeing that warrior to king transition is something that I see a lot in both these two athletes. Okay, ladies, so these celebrities are examples, and there's a reason why I stay away from celebrity gossip and things like that, is because it can be very distracting. Like, for instance, you would say, well, Hugh Jackman was a broke dusty when he met his wife, and he was hypergamous. You could say, Prince had a problem with substance abuse, or struggled with his sexuality. So you can say these things and then try to negate the overall picture of what is I'm saying about masculine and feminine energies, masculine and feminine archetypes. But the real goal here is to learn a little bit about yourself and to become a little bit more introspective and find out how that self-love journey and that self-actualization journey translate to the world around you. Okay. Like as I'm starting to grow and change, and as me and my husband start to grow and change, and we see like a lot of our friends who, as their masculine and feminine energies change, so does the status of their relationship. Maybe when you get married young, you have that idealistic maiden energy, but then as life happens, you can no longer embody that because you need to be more of a mother. You need to be more of a sage. And some men don't find that attractive, especially if they haven't progressed. Or as a man goes from warrior to king energy, and understanding how to delegate and looking at the big picture, understanding that, sometimes you may need a wife that's a little bit more on board, a wife that's a little bit more of a counselor and not just somebody who's along for the ride. So again, as these things changes, there are no absolutes. And the only thing you can really take from this is learn more introspectively about yourself and then how that energy is going to translate. You may think you want a warrior, but then when you come into contact with him, you don't like his routine. You may think that you want a king, but you might not be ready for the level of responsibility that he wants. You may think that lovers and magicians are unattractive, but understand that they're solid in who it is they are. You might find yourself being attracted to them. These are all things you have to learn and nothing that YouTube can ever teach you. Only real life can do this, which is one of the reasons why, ladies, I'm always encouraging you to put yourself out there, to network, and to build connection. This is Mocha Mommy, and I'll see you in the next video.